Welcome back. Today we're going to look at an old concept with a relatively new name. We'll look at an astronomical phenomenon, a song, and a quote. So grab your favorite cuppa, sit back, and let's have a look. Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for April 10th. April 10th is the 100th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 101st in leap years, with 265 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is contranym. Contranym is a noun, and we've talked about contronyms before. We talked about it back on April 6th of 2022, but since yesterday's word was a contronym, I thought it would be fun to revisit the idea. Contranym may also be spelled with an A, like contranym. Either way is correct. I believe contronym with an O is more common in recent usage, though. So, a contronym is a word that contains opposing meanings. In other words, it's its own antonym. These are also sometimes called auto-antonyms or Janus words, named after the Roman god Janus, who looks both forward and backward. In simple terms, one word, two opposite meanings. For example, dust might mean to remove fine particles, as in, I dusted the furniture, or to add fine particles, as in, I dusted the cake with sugar. Sanction might mean to permit or approve, as in, the committee sanctioned the event, or to penalize or punish, as in, the country faced sanctions. Left might mean departed, as in, she left the room, or remaining, as in, there is one piece left. We could go on. There are many examples. The word contronym comes to us as a combined word from the parts contra, from Latin, meaning against, and nem or onym from Greek, meaning name or word, so against word or opposite word, a word that contains opposite meanings within itself. While contronyms have been around for maybe as long as language itself, contronym is a fairly new word with a first known use in about the 1960s. Before the word contronym was coined and popularized, linguists referred to such words as self-antonyms or Janus words, as I mentioned earlier. Contronym. And with that, we've mentioned Edmund Halley and the comet bearing his name before. Edmund Halley was an English astronomer, mathematician, and physicist who lived from the middle of the 1600s to the middle of the 1700s. In studying the records of the appearance of historical comets, Halley correctly concluded that there were three in particular that were actually the same comet. He then went on to predict that it would return, and while he passed away before it came back, he was correct. That comet has come to be called Halley's Comet or Comet Halley. That said, it's been estimated that Halley's Comet made its closest approach to Earth on April 10th in the year 837. How close, you ask? Researchers have estimated that Halley's Comet came to about 0.0342 astronomical units from Earth at the time. I think that is a term that most of us can't quite relate to, so we'll revert to miles or kilometers, and that 0.0342 astronomical units would be about 3.2 million miles, or 5.1 million kilometers for my metric friends. For reference, the Sun is about 93 million miles from Earth. The Moon, on average, is usually about 238,900 miles away. That's almost 239,000 miles from us most of the time. Right this minute, as I read this to you, in 2025, Venus is about 160.9 million miles from Earth. That's between 259 million kilometers, and Mars is about 111.8 million miles from Earth, or 180 million kilometers. And depending on where everybody is in their orbit, Venus can come as close as about 24 million miles from Earth, although not very often, and Mars can come as close as about 54.6 million miles from Earth, which is about 9 times the distance between the Earth and the Moon. And again, that doesn't happen very often. And all of this changes on a daily basis, so fairly well outside the distance of the Moon from Earth. Halley's Comet only comes around about every 76 years, and it typically averages about 8.3 million miles away. All this talk about Halley's Comet reminded me of the old rock and roll band Bill Haley and his Comets. They formed up in 1947 and kept playing till Bill Haley passed in 1981. I had no idea. I'd say their heyday was between 1954 and 1956, a time during which they recorded 9 top 20 singles. And they're probably best known for their big hit, Rock Around the Clock, written by Max Friedman and James Myers, and originally released by Bill Haley and his Comets in May of 1954. Music in the rock and roll genre had existed briefly previously to this, but Rock Around the Clock was the first record to top the charts in both the U.S. and the UK, and is considered to be the song that brought rock and roll into the mainstream culture around the world. Rock Around the Clock is listed at number 159 on Rolling Stone magazine's list of the 500 greatest songs of all time, and has been selected for preservation in the National Recording Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Rock Around the Clock is well known in popular culture and by rock historians. Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley and his Comets. Link in the description. How about that? With all this talk about space today, let's have a quote about space. I think our person was talking more about the space that exists between objects in everyday life rather than outer space, but this is a pretty cool quote. It appealed to me today, and it is, "Space is the breath of art." Frank Lloyd Wright said that. Space is the breath of art. Alrighty. Y'all take care. Be good to each other. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. What are you doing? Cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out. Okay. I made a mistake on the graphic. I'm going to have to fix it again. Hold on. I don't even know where I was, so we're just going to read that whole passage over again. Holy cow. All right. For reference, the sun is... we have a stray word in the text here. Okay. There we go. Much better. All right. And we want to do this. Highlight that. Yeah. Okay. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoyed this series, you can check out the playlists in the description. You can find me on BitChute, Facebook, Odyssey, Rumble, YouTube, and X, as well as on a blog page called No Really. All those links are in the description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.